So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Good evening, afternoon, and good night, folks, and welcome to for the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. As myself and Paddy are here to talk, well, we're going to talk about various different things, as is our way, but predominantly we're going to talk about Aston Villa 3, Fulham 1, and another brilliant performance. Well, I suppose another brilliant result at home against Fulham, and 13 games won on the trot at home. And I think we can officially call it Fortress Villa Park at this stage, Paddy.
Well, I think after 13 games, it's definitely Fortress Villa Park, and the attitude of scoring many goals, and if the clean sheet comes, it's a bonus. They're not coming. That's the only downside of it. But we're scoring plenty of goals, and we're just over the moon with it.
Yeah, it's how do I put this one? Our next home game is Man City, and I'm kind of pissed off at that one in the league because I wouldn't mind breaking the record, but our two next home games are Man City and Arsenal. So if we could pull a win out against Man City, believe me, if we pull a win out against Man City, there might be a no pants dance done on the podcast. It might very well happen because, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we could do that either. But that's a long way down the line.
We've got to believe at this stage that anything is possible, albeit in those 13 games. I think there's only one of the greedy six in that. I think it was Spurs, maybe, was it?
Yes,
one of them. There's definitely only one of them anyway in that run. So look, all good things come to an end at some stage. Hopefully, it won't be against Manchester City because we're due one against them, I think, after them getting all the rub of the green and what have you over the years in this fixture. So. Look, we've just got to believe in the process and believe that we can go and beat these teams now. And this is where we're at. We've got a horrible run of games coming up, but now is time. Having had that run of games that we've had, obviously we've had that slip up against Forest, but now it's time to judge ourselves against the big boys and consistently, because there'll be three of them. There'll be Spurs, there'll be Man City, and there'll be Arsenal, one after each other, followed by Liverpool and Man United later in December. So we've a lot going on. No, I've got that wrong, have we? We haven't got Liverpool.
You've got United. Well, we've got United and Everton. So Everton early January. So you were the right city. You were the right city.
Okay. Yeah. So look, it's a good chance to see where we are coming into the transfer window, to see how competitive we are, and to see what's needed for when Neil's favourite time of the year rocks around, and that's not Christmas, it's January.
It's not. Yeah, it's the January sales, exactly. And you know what, actually, and I didn't actually plan to talk about what our upcoming fixtures were, because obviously we want to talk about Fulham, but when the fixture list flips around and we have the reverses of them as well, that's not coming at a bad time either, because points having points on the board like we have so far is really, really good. And having that the reversal of those fixtures that we've had over the last couple of weeks, add those points specifically during January. So we would be hoping that those points, that we would get those points as well. Once again, as I say, it's inflated league position, it's inflated PR, I suppose, for the club at any given time. And you got to ride the crest of the wave for that, specifically during transfer windows when things like that happen. But anyway, we're going to curb the chat of future Aston Villa and talk about slightly past Aston Villa, and that is the game yesterday, Aston Villa versus Fulham. I had an extremely as I say, an extremely kind of weird viewing vantage of this game in the middle of getting family photographs taken and stuff like that. But I suppose it was difficult for me to get a full sense, and I watched it again this morning, and I obviously got my full senses and my full bearings of the game after that. But I must say, Paddy, that we were a team that were kind of, my theory is that Aston Villa go out, specifically at home, we go out and we have a scripted first 10 minutes. I've said this in the podcast 2 or 3 times before. I will say it again in future with regards to this. We have a scripted first 10 minutes to find the weak spot of a team. And that's why Emery wants us to be ball dominant. And I think that's what it was against Fulham. We were sloppy in parts, but I think that's what it was. And once we found it, I think we, even though the first goal was an own goal, we were knocking at the door and we were owning possession. We were taking all the shots, and Fulham didn't really look like they had any answers in the first half as well. What was your view on that, Paddy, and that initial, I suppose, start to the first half?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head, and we probably could have been. We could have been 2 up before we scored. We look at the one that Watkins should have got on the end of that led to the awarding of a penalty, which was rightly overturned by VAR, and the one that came into Diaby, who hit straight at the goalkeeper. So that was 2 opportunities. I felt that we could have went 2-0 up in that. So we were flying. We were absolutely flying. And then obviously we got the goal, which completely settled everything. And even at that, we couldn't get on the end of that either. It's just one of those. We're not gambling enough on those balls across the box. We've seen Ollie Watkins do that many times, and Diaby again couldn't get there. It's like as if we weren't even expecting it. But anyway, thankfully Anthony Robinson was there to stick out his leg and put it past his own goalkeeper. So who needs strikers when you've got defenders that are doing that for you? And look, I'm joking. It was the pressure. It was everything that was on that. And look, we were thoroughly good value for that goal, and richly deserved by how we started that game.
And I must give a small bit of credit to Tielemans in that position, or where he picked that ball up in that position as well. The cross was really good. The cross was into that corridor of uncertainty, that beautiful corridor of uncertainty that magically appears when the cross is perfect. And it's always like it's like taking a shot from outside the box. You might get that. You might get the nick off someone's heel as they try to turn to block it, and it goes in wrong foot's the goalkeeper. A cross like that, a specific cross like that, it's made for that reason. That if somebody tries to bundle it into the back of the net, and the defender is obviously trying to get it at Diaby there, you've got every chance that it's going to hit somebody and go in when it's in that specific area. So fair play to Tielemans. And I've no problem in turning around and said somebody that I remember doing a podcast specifically. I think it was the podcast against Legia Warsaw, and I said, "Who is this Tielemans?" Because he's not the Tielemans we saw at Leicester. He's not the Tielemans we've seen in any specific situation, and that isn't the Tielemans anymore. The Tielemans we're seeing now is the one that we were all looked at and said, "Geez, this could be a great free agent signing." At the the end of last season into this season, and he's coming good because that cross was really good, and he was very good again at the weekend. I thought he was active, he was in around the ball, he was playing passes, he was playing in a slightly unfamiliar position as well, and he was more of a Jacob Ramsey, albeit without the ball carrying, than Zaniolo was, and that's really that's a testament to him, because it was the big highlight of the team sheet that Tielemans was in there, and he repaid the fate of the manager for sure in that instance.
And I think the manager knew he was going to repay him. I think all the signs were there leading up to this that he was going to get a start in the Premier League, and there it was for him, and by God did he grab it with both hands. He's actually a joy to watch on the ball. He very rarely does anything wrong on the ball.
The pressing as well off the ball is good.
Very, and you know what, deceptively quick. I watched an analysis, I think it was Match of the Day I watched back last night, and they showed a couple of the pressing that he done, and it was just deceptively quick to get where he needed to be, and it's not what you expect from him. I know he's not the quickest footballer, but he was quicker than I anticipated he was, because obviously you're watching the ball as the game is going on, but you've got to blow smoke up his ass when he has a performance like that. He was absolutely excellent, which he was in the game in Alkmaar as well. He was a joy to watch that night as well. So I really do believe that we've got a gem on our hands. It's just finding how he fits into this system now, and maybe he has already.
That's a good point as well. That's a good problem to have. You go back to Man City 3-4 years ago, they were trying to fit Riyad Mahrez into their team, and every time he came off the bench, he was doing something. Yet Guardiola go out and there might be no Mahrez in the team, yet he come off the bench and he do something. And that brings me on to talk about another player who came off the bench, and we'll get to the goals in a minute, and specifically the third goal, because I'm saving the second goal because I loved the second goal and I really want to talk about it. But for the third goal, Leon Bailey had come off the bench, injection of pace, kind of did a bit more crisscrossing the field than Diaby did. There was a slight change of formation, I think, when Bailey came on. Bailey did pop up on the left-hand side of the field for the third goal. And I think it was, I think we've said before that me and you both believe that we want to see him out there a small bit more, because his last two games where he's popped up out there more often than not, I feel he's been more effective. And yes, he hasn't been able to cut in or to come in and cut in his left hand side and take shots. And yes, he scored goals on the right hand side. But I really like the look of him from the left hand side. And that cross for Bailey was brilliant. The cross for Watkins' goal, I think, was really good again. Once again, into the corridor of uncertainty. And I was going to say that Ollie Watkins couldn't miss it, but we might talk about the miss later on for one where he did.
And look, before we go any further, I'm going to bring you back 20 odd years to a manager that used to manage a team that I managed. And he used to say in his team he had painters. Fellas that would hit a pass and stand back and look at it, and he called them painters. When a painter paints something on a canvas and he stands back and have a look. For me, since he arrived, Leon Bailey's a painter. He loves to play that pass and just stand still. We saw him hit 6 corners last week and stand still, watching the ball go in and not getting himself back into the onside position. Yesterday, we broke. Now bear in mind that the first ball in that move is a headed clearance from the 6-yard box by Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins busts a gut, gets out. Bailey picks up the ball, gives the ball to McGinn. Is he painting? No. He overlaps McGinn, goes into that corridor, ball across the edge of the box. Didn't go looking for any plaudits or anything, just celebrated the goal. Absolutely what we want from Leon Bailey. We have waited. This is third season to see some magic like that. Now I believe we have him firing the way that Unai Emery wants him firing. And that goal... That goal, when you look at it, slowed down from when the ball breaks to McGinn's movement, to his movement, to Watkins busting and gut to get to the back post. Absolutely incredible team goal, and probably not highlighted enough by any of the news outlets out there. Because if you look at it through every passage of play in it, it's absolutely a joy to watch, and just not what we're used to at Aston Villa.
I love a good transitional counter attack like that. There's something beautiful about it, and once again it goes back. Yeah, and I recorded a podcast today with Jacob Tanswell, and it'll be out on Wednesday. And I referenced the piece that Muller Wolf said for AZ. He was like, literally, we knew what they were going to do. We couldn't stop them. That counter attack. Every team in the Premier League knows that Villa are going to counter attack, and they're just going to be power and pace straight through the middle. There's going to be no messing on it here. We're going to run directly at you and see what you can do. And so far so good for Aston Villa, and that was a good proponent of it there as well, or a good example of it, should I say. The only thing that it would have made me love it more is I love a good diving header. So if Ollie Watkins, if that goal had ended up in a diving header, I would have just been goal of the year, because I do love a good counter attack goal, and I do love a good diving header at the back post as well, which very rarely see anymore. Bring back the diving header. That's what I want to see.
Absolutely.
It's a dying art.
There's been a few occasions this season where a diving header would have been perfect for Ollie Watkins, and he just never believed that the ball was going to come into that position. But I was always a lover of the diving header as well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic way to score a goal. But Paddy, he didn't score a goal in another instance, Ollie Watkins. I'm going to let you talk me through Ronnie Rosenthal 2.0.
Look, bear in mind the amount of times we've seen him head the ball straight at the goalkeeper. He managed to not even head the ball wide. If it had kept going, it had gone out for a throw-in. It was just the most bizarre miss for him, who's quite accomplished. As we've just said already, he headed the ball 30 yards clear from a corner, so he's well able to head the ball. What he was thinking with that header is absolutely beyond me. And look, if we can get him finishing those chances along with what he's already finishing, he's going to be a 30-goal a season striker, and that's no joke. He's already on 10 goals, And what are we with games? Probably a third of the way, maybe a bit over a third of the way through the season. So it just all it took was him to throw his head at that ball, and there was nothing stopping it. He had half a goal to aim at, and somehow it spun off and went wide. Not even wide. It didn't even go out wide. And also before I forget, we go back to the penalty. The penalty incident where the ball hits the Castagna on the face and goes out for a corner. How was that restarted, Neil? Do you remember?
I don't.
He dropped the ball in front of the goalkeeper instead of giving the corner. Like this is what they should be. They brought him over to the screen to look at what happened instead of saying to him, "Look, he didn't handle the ball. You may award the corner." The process is just mind blowing.
It was just like, well, that was just he kind of said, "Well, you lads got a corner against Alkmaar, so I'm not going to give it a corner now." So it's just karma. I'll take the karma in that instance. I take the karma of just dropping in front of the goalkeeper when we go on to win 3-1. But it was a drop ball. It was a drop ball, though, wasn't it?
Pardon?
It was a drop ball, like as in
it was restarted with a drop ball.
Yeah, but it should have been a corner.
Because it was literally kicked off the side of Castagna's head and out for a corner.
Yeah.
And he pointed to the spot. So it should have been.
The rule is an ass in that instance, whereby it should be okay, right? If it wasn't a penalty, the passage of play was that it went out for a corner, so it should have been a corner.
This all goes back to process. If you're watching a game of rugby union and the TMO calls for a foul play and he tells the referee exactly what the next phase of play should be, why that process isn't in place? It's obviously not, because when he's walking back onto the pitch, I'm making my way back to explain to the players that the ball come off his head and it's not a penalty. How do we restart this game? That's all he's got to ask. But they're just too far up their own arses to ask that question to get it right.
In that instance, like, I do agree with you, it should be a corner, but I think that instance, the rule is, okay, I stopped the play. So if he blew the whistle when the ball hit off Castagna, essentially he was saying, right, I blew the whistle when the ball hit his head. Whether it went out before I blew the whistle or not is irrelevant. I blew it for that action, and that action relevant. I was wrong. And then, but the rule should be slightly tweaked for that one, I think, for sure. But like, it's, as I say, it's strange when you, like, that's what alienates fans from VAR, and you can clearly see it should be a corner, but the rules state that we have to start with a drop ball. It's like the whole, if the game restarts again, then we can't go back to that incident.
Yeah.
You should be able to, because you can go back for foul play. Why can't you go back for goals? Or why can't you go back for offsides and all that kind of stuff? So if you can go as long as you want for foul play, why can't it be the same for every single incident? And anyway, we'll go down the rabbit hole there.
Why I didn't understand why there was any need to bring him over to him to verify the ball hit him in the head. We could all see it after one replay.
Yeah,
why that
it was
took
a clear
that
one.
And look, don't get me wrong, I've said it so many times, I don't care how long it takes once to get it right. And that goes for when we're on the receiving end as well. And it was against us, so I was absolutely fine with it. But, you're talking about overcooking it now when they were taking the piss earlier in the season. So decide what you're going to do and keep going that way. But anyway, back to the positivity.
Because I think the second goal, I loved it. I love that little jinx. Sold Palhinha for an absolute pop on the edge of the area. Did John McGinn, and that's no easy feat. But like, it was the second. Palhinha goes, right, this guy's got to go on the right side, and John McGinn didn't. Like, his little feint, he didn't even move it like 6 inches to the left hand side, and Palhinha was gone. And then McGinn just bang arrowed into the bottom corner. I was just looking at it going, and it always comes up in the back of my head. Unai Emery, when he came into the club, said, you're a good midfielder, but you need to start scoring more goals. And John McGinn is scoring more goals. And I think I read somewhere today, AVFC Stato, if you're listening, you keep me honest in this one. John McGinn has now scored, I think it's only Ashley Young and Steve Staunton, maybe, that have more goals outside the box. I'm open to in the Premier League than John McGinn at the moment. I think there might be one other person in there as well. But 2 reasons I wanted to bring it up. One, because Steve Staunton was in there for you, Paddy. And second of all, it just shows how John McGinn is banging them in, because I've been asking for players to shoot from outside the box. McGinn does it and absolutely places it like as if he went in with his hands and put it right in the bottom corner. Super goal. Really good. And a captain's goal and a real captain's performance for him yesterday, because he was bloody brilliant.
He was absolutely excellent yesterday. Absolutely. Probably, I believe, his best performance in an Aston Villa shirt. To watch the way he took that goal is exactly what we've been crying out for, watching him doing that for Scotland nearly on a game-by-game basis for a while. I think he went a good few games scoring in each game. And look, I know there are a lot of people that took a great bit of skill between the two ears to score that goal. And what a finish, to just pass it into the bottom corner in the way he did. He just stroked the ball into the bottom corner. Like that's up there with the goal he scored against Sheffield Wednesday for me. It was absolutely sublime. And I guarantee you, if Salah had done that little shimmy and stuck it in the bottom corner, we'd be watching it 10 times over than we're watching John McGinn. So it's not sexy enough for the TV companies. But take nothing away from that, just that little bit of skill between the ears and sticking the ball in the bottom corner. It was an absolute joy to watch. I think it was probably the most celebrated goal I celebrated since he scored at Wembley. I say that's the last time I went as mad as I did when that went in, because it was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I can't say enough about it.
And he went absolutely mad as well. So like, I love it. I love when he scores a goal like that, because you can see how much it means to him being captain. And once again, I can stand here and I can say with great humility and point back to saying that when Tyrone Mings was injured, we needed leaders to stand up. Ezri Konsa has stood up. John McGinn has certainly stood up and grown into that captain's armband as well. And fair play to him. 3 goals already, I think, in the league this season, equals his best performance in the league for Aston Villa, if I'm not mistaken. And onwards and upwards here for him, you know. And the league is only a pup yet. There's definitely more goals in him. And if he continues to strike him as sweetly as that, we'll be singing his praises in a lot more podcasts. But apart from this, apart from that goal, he just seemed like he was everywhere. He seemed like we're back to that box formation. It just really brings the best out of him when he doesn't have to go too far wide and can come out into the middle and be combative in that kind of square midfield, that box midfield. It just seems to be where he comes alive in games. And it's like how he was at the end of last season for the 12 games to finish last season with Jacob Ramsey in the team as well. The Tielemans connection with him suited him a bit more. It suited him a bit more when he didn't need to go as wide. And I think that Unai Emery can't wait to get back to that system. And with Jacob Ramsey coming back after the international break, it's likely that we will see this going forward, because it does seem to be a formation that gets us more potent up top and allows us more options, I suppose, to have a plan A, B, C, and D as the game goes on. So well done, John McGinn. And very much so, man of the match. Although I was trolling Paddy after the game yesterday, and Paddy maintains he was the first person to vote on the Aston Villa poll when Villa put out a poll on Twitter. On Twitter. Well, I told you I clicked on it as well, and it told me I was the first too. But Paddy voted for John McGinn, and I started trolling saying it was Watkins, because I knew that the Premier League app had given it to Watkins. So Paddy was like, no, it's definitely John McGinn. we were having a bit of a
I'd love to sit down in a room with whoever picked Ollie Watkins as man of the match yesterday, given the performances of Tielemans and John McGinn. I wouldn't have even put him on the Villa website. I wouldn't have even put him in the first 4 to be voting for, because that's how good of a performance it was from everybody else. And he did have that miss as well. So let's not forget that one.
Yeah, so it's like, as I say, another win. Moving on towards the international break, and we asked of Aston Villa, you know, to send us into that international break in good form, and they did. And we've got 2 weeks to rest on it as well. But somebody who doesn't have 2 weeks to rest on that, Paddy, is Ezri Konsa, because Ezri Konsa has finally, probably about a year too late, but maybe 6 months too late to 10 months too late, finally been called up to an England squad, albeit it is in place of the donkey Lewis Dunk, who he isn't. He isn't the donkey. No, not at all. I think that doesn't apply to him. But it is in place of Lewis Dunk. But Ezri Konsa has an opportunity now to go and hopefully get minutes in either of those two games. And when you think about Gareth Southgate's previous penchant for Eric Dyer in his teams, the fact that Dyer could play right back or could play in centre half, well, you've got an ultimately better Eric Dyer in Ezri Konsa. Going into your camp now, Mr. Southgate. So use him, give him time on the field, and see how good he is. Because, to be honest with you, stats and numbers don't lie an awful lot, specifically over the sample set that you have for Ezri Konsa now, specifically since Unai Emery came in, and even now in this leadership capacity he has for Aston Villa. So he's deserving of this cap, and I hope it goes on. And I hope he gives Mr. Southgate something to think about for sure.
Well, I hope we're not sitting here this time next week after the two games are over and we head into our Spurs preview saying, geez, that was an awful waste of him going to play. I think they're at home and then they play North Macedonia. Is that right? Malta and North Macedonia?
I think it is, yeah.
At this stage of it, surely he will warrant getting on for a few minutes. And let's face it, we all know 18 months ago that he should have been rewarded with this cap. He should have been thereabouts for the Euros when that was played. So what's that, 2 years ago at this stage? The guy has been immense for us for so long, and even when players came and went, he was just head and shoulders above everybody. He's come in there and he's absolutely bossed it in the absence of his good mate. He's really just taken over the mantle at centre half and been an absolute born leader. And look, I have to put my hands up and admit that when he came in and we watched him the first time round, I thought he was very sloppy and very clumsy. It just goes to show when the team is settled and when the manager is getting the best out of players, it brings those players up to the levels that they're capable of playing at. So that's why we're looking at virtually the same team that we had under Dean Smith now performing at this level. It's just a joy to behold. And he is probably, of all, him and Ollie Watkins, I suppose, that have come just full circle from Ollie Watkins with little to no confidence, playing bad positions, looking for the ball, to getting 10 goals already, and Ezri Konsa just being an absolute man mountain at the back. And remember that statistic last year where there was something bizarre, like 20 odd games that he hadn't been dribbled past. All of these things. Yeah,
I think he's up there again for being one of the players who least dribbled past the game. I think like over the last 3 or 4 years or however long we've been in the Premier League, I think he still even is up there. Even when we were doing brutal, he was very rarely dribbled past, if I remember rightly. But yeah, he's so with massive strength of his being able to keep the play in front of him. And as you said, more to come from him.
Exactly. And look, he's been such a signing for us. Very disciplined, doesn't give away the stupid frees that he used to, doesn't get booked as easy as he used to. Very, very strong person in that he doesn't pick up silly injuries either. So I wish him well. I really hope he gets a cap. Not that I have any interest in how England are doing, obviously, because I'm not English, but I want all our players. And the biggest worry I had with Ezri Konsa and Ollie Watkins not getting called up is that, do players like that begin to question, do they stay at Aston Villa and not play for England, or do they move to one of the perceived bigger clubs to play for England? And I just hope that this shows people that they can play with our amazing club and still play for their, not be discriminated against when they're picking the international squad. So we have the two boys in there. They're in there on merit, 100% in there on merit, and I'm delighted for the two of them, and I hope they do really well.
Yeah, and it's just a pity that Jacob Ramsey is injured, because if Cole Palmer is getting called up, Jacob Ramsey should be close.
Jacob's still a young man as well. He's still learning his trade. I've absolutely no problem with that. He's done very well with the under-21s when he was there. He will be thereabouts again. He just needs a run now of not picking up any more niggly injuries. And he's going to be a superstar in the future. He's already a superstar for me. He's been absolutely excellent for us, and that will come for him, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and looking forward to seeing him back after the international break. And realistically speaking, the way we're coming healthy at a really good time of the year as well, because we need everyone we can get. And barring any injuries on international duty, we would be more or less healthy, because it looks like Diego Carlos's injury is not too bad either. So obviously, the long-term injuries aside, we would be healthy for who we have to call on for this year as well, and long may that continue. For sure, because options are paramount to Unai Emery and to this team as well. So I think I think we're going to leave it at that, guys, because it's been this game against Fulham, once again, another 3-1 win. It seems to be Aston Villa's favourite winning scoreline, I think, at the moment. Scoring 3 goals at home. Were really potent at home, and this international break is a nice time to regroup, do a bit of self-scouting from an Unai Emery point of view, self-scouting from the point of view of having an away game directly afterwards as well, see what the differences are there. Once again, as I say, light the candle to make sure that everybody comes back healthy, and then we could go and hopefully attack Spurs in the way that we know we can in the Tottenham Stadium once we get back on the field again after the international break. So I plan to have a couple of podcasts for you guys over the course of the coming weeks. I am waiting on confirmation for some of them, but I definitely will have another one for Wednesday with Jacob Tanswell, because I recorded it earlier on today with him, so it's a pre-recorded one, and it was a really good conversation where we discussed the tactical side of how Villa have been setting up and some of the things that we've seen so far. So I really enjoyed talking to Jacob, and that will be out on Wednesday. But just thanks for
a couple of things before you go, Neil. It was great, obviously, to see Alex Moreno getting the 63 minutes under his belt tonight.
Yes.
Hopefully, there's
comeback too.
Yeah, hopefully there's no reoccurrence of any injuries there, and he's feeling fit and healthy. I believe there's a behind closed doors friendly on Monday week, so hopefully he'll get another 90 minutes under that. And also, there was a lot of people mentioning John Duran in the comments. Obviously, it's only hearsay that we're being told that the guy is homesick. He's struggling. If the guy is homesick and struggling, probably the comments and probably what's been said on Twitter is not exactly what he needs. We need to get behind him. We need to encourage him. We need to let him know that he's welcome. We forget that he's only a child as well. He's 19 years of age, and I don't mean that in a derogatory fashion. He's 19 years of age. He's coming from a different country, a different culture. He's doing things the way he's been brought up to do it, and it's completely different to what we're used to in our culture. So we just need to get behind him. As somebody who has been homesick in previous years, I can tell you all about it. It's not a nice place to be if that's what's wrong with him. And mine came at a time where you couldn't pick up a phone and FaceTime your parents or your loved ones when you were away from home. So I totally get what homesickness is like. He's obviously the only Colombian in the team. Thankfully, there's many more Spanish speaking players around him, and hopefully they're looking after him. But just be kind, because if this is a homesickness or some kind of mental health issue, we need to support them and get in behind them and look after them.
The last Colombian last Colombian striker that we had that was homesick as well didn't turn out too bad.
He didn't. No, you're right.
Mr. Angel. Yeah, for sure. And he certainly didn't have the support of the club at that period of time. He was actually the reason that the club developed the support network for foreign players, if memory serves me right. Yeah. So, as I say, a lot of the stuff that's online might be conjecture, it might be real, but there's you're always best to take those at face value with regards to that being the reason, and support people through it for sure. Because he's a young man, Unai Emery thinks that he has tons and tons of talent, and I'm sure we will see it if and when he's fit to return to the squad. Well, he has returned to the squad, but if and when he's fit to, I suppose, to show it on a weekly basis with the team, and hopefully that is very, very soon. Hopefully that is very, very soon. All right, lads and lasses, we're going to leave you at that. Thanks a million to everybody for supporting the podcast. We had a funny milestone today. We had 6,666 subscribers on YouTube when I woke up this morning, and I couldn't get that devil song out of my mind. So anybody who got that earworm in their ear that clicked on the link from my tweet earlier on, I don't apologize for anything because it's an absolute banger of a song, and it brought me back to being about 14 again. So it was fantastic. But thanks very much, everybody, for your support, as always, with regards to the podcast. And we will be back on Wednesday with a pre-recorded podcast, and hopefully we will have a couple of more podcasts as the rest of the week ticks on and into next week as well. So in the meantime, everybody, thanks a million for your time, as always. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.